Now, well, there we are. Welcome to Connections, episode 44. And this episode, we're going to talk about the wisdom factory, coming back to that. So, our shows offer single episode and short series of talks and interviews regarding the most important areas in human life, such as relationship issues, personal expressions, and self development, as well as healing of these areas. The purpose of our shows is to give you inspiration and also teach you new skills with which to handle the issues which are connected with these relative topics. And today we are talking about making a difference in the world. Who and how? With my special guest, Heidi Hornlein and Mark Davenport. Yes, Heidi is not only my co-host, but also my special guest together with her husband, Mark. They are creating together a new Hangout on Air show that we would like to talk about and its contents and what the difference is from our Connections show. And Heidi will continue to co-host in the future with Connection. This is so amazing. This is perfect moment to think about our mission in the world and what we can do to fulfill it, you and me and all of us. And before I asked them to tell us a little bit about themselves and their mission, some words about myself. Hello, I'm Margarita Crystal Lotus. I'm a life and business mentor who helps professional women overcome emotional stress and issues in their life at the current moment, and so that they can have fulfilling relationships and also flourishing careers. And I also have a new program called Your Healing Journey, which is right now is in the launch state. So before long, we're going to talk about the new topic. Heidi, what is it that you have concocted up here?
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Margarita. Yeah, what is it what we are up to? You know, I think we have mentioned it in other episodes that I got to meet Mark about 3 years ago. It's quite 3 years ago.
This month.
This month, yeah. Talking on Facebook about things which were interesting to us. It was about integral theory and practice and so on, and we will talk about that later. And, you know, we created our relationship on the common interest. And this spring, we were together in the Budapest and the European Integral Conference, and we met so many amazing people. They have so much to tell to the world. And we said we would like to create a show where these people, us, you, visionary leaders, have the possibility to present themselves and give their message out into a broader audience. And that was the moment of the birth of this idea, and now finally we come to this moment to do that. And you know me, I guess. I have presented myself so often all my life as a voice teacher and as a singer and as an organic farmer and as a coach and as a counselor and whatever. I think I've accumulated a lot of knowledge and experience which I can share with the world in an integrated way. I mean, my attempt is now to integrate this all, and also by this show, but I give the word to Mark that he can present himself. He's a little less known.
I'm the invisible one, or the power behind the throne. Yes, that's it. Anyway, I'm Mark, and I have a long history going back to education in Wisconsin, the University of Wisconsin. I got a master's degree in Italian language because I didn't want to go to Vietnam very much, and it worked. But I was left with a kind of not very helpful education in some ways, and went on into teaching to some extent, and end up in drug and alcohol counseling. So I was moving sort of in a more personal direct people helping position. And this interest has continued. And following a period of kind of quiet retirement in Florida, I met this lady, and she called me out of retirement. Yes, and here I am in Italy, 3 years later, clacking away on the computer like I never have before, but having shared this integral relationship, this experience of relating in a way like I've never have before with anyone, and understanding in a very real gut way just what this integral business is all about, and wanting so much to tell people, hey, it's some things are hard, but really it's not that hard. It's surprisingly simple, but it's a matter of being able to see it. And this is what our show is hoping to do in the personal realm. These same principles apply to nations and to the world itself, and indeed to the cosmos. But the root is, the motivation is really, my gosh, how have we been able to live together with this relationship coming from such different backgrounds?
Yeah.
And it works.
So we have some comments here, and we welcome Rain Davel and Christopher Persall. Thank you for being here live with us. And I think Arlene Munch was there for a moment too. Thank you for being here. And just type in your questions, and we're going to share them on this episode. So I am really excited to be interviewing you both here, because I come to know you for quite a while now, and to see a husband and wife team combine their efforts is always very, very inspiring, and you are a model for the world. So can you explain a little bit about what the differences is from Connections to the Wisdom Factory?
Mm-hmm. Well, there are definitely some differences. I think in Connections, we were interviewing Margarita and you. We're interviewing people about their convictions and their approaches, and they were sharing their tools and their abilities and their programs, and we were showcasing those people and their activities, and we weren't focused on putting that work into
Excuse me, this is the plural majestatis. I noticed that so often men talk about we, when instead somebody else is doing the work. He is saying we.
Oh, I thought I was talking
right?
Connection.
I was talking about God and myself.
Oh, about God and yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
But anyway, the content. Yes, you're right, of course. But as often, but we're not terribly concerned about putting in Connections their work into a broader context. And with the new show, The Wisdom Factory, we do have a context, and we do have a direction. Yeah. We do have an agenda.
It doesn't mean that in Connections there is no direction. No, that's not true. But we are more sort of looking at the things in the level they are appearing. And in Wisdom Factory, we want to give the context. We want to often go on the meta level and look what, for instance, a tool, like last week we did about animal conversation. No, this is fine to learn that, and it's perfect. And that Vicky gave us the possibility to, my little kitty is a little better by now, to experience this, how she is talking with the animals. In Wisdom Factory, we would ask the question, how is it possible? Is it a human capacity, or is it a superhuman capacity? Is it real that we can talk with animals, or is it not? And we will give the arguments why this is a real thing. A little bit I did last time. I said, I don't know if you remember, I said when we are very young, children still have this capacity of intuitive communication, and then when the mind comes in, this is sort of erased, but it's still there as human capacity. And when we grow up and can leave a little bit the mind on this place and don't allow it to govern us, then these other intuitive capacities can come back. And there were always human beings who had these capacities all the time. It is not only the consequence of development, but the more we have given the command to our mind, the more these other capacities went into the background and couldn't be played out anymore, and were even suspect of, this is not true, telepathy doesn't exist,
It's not that we want to go back.
Comment here. We have to welcome Tamara Belland, who comes and have come and watched us now. Thank you so much. And Christopher Pearsall says it's really great to meet you, Mark. And thank you for watching. So what I understand what we're doing here is our connection show, which is going to continue and develop in its own way. And Heidi and I are going to continue that and showing you skills and techniques and inspirations. And the Wisdom Factory would look to have the structure, how the consciousness evolves, and the greater, mission driven in organizations, and how the individual actually integrate with this new development on the planet. So it's both shows are really also very, very important. And so I'm so excited to actually support you here, Mark and Heidi, in this effort, because it's needed. I mean, as coming from a scientific family, my father was a doctor, my mother is both PhDs, right? My mother chemist. So I am the ideal client for your show, The Wisdom Factory. So what is it actually, what kind of topics are you going to focus on to start?
Just a moment, I wanted to come back to what you said. I have experience in my own life. I was brought up very mind-oriented. I studied mathematics, physics, and all this stuff. And and I knew there's something missing. And it took a long time until I finally could let go and could go into this esoteric stuff. And then what happened was that I went completely to the other side and negated the mind, the rational mind. And then now, for a while now, comes the time to integrate both of this, because neither of them are bad. Neither of these capacities are bad. But using only one or using only the other, we couldn't even say bad, but it is partial, too partial. And you will, out of this limited worldview, limited way of being, you won't do optimal choices. So what we try to do is, to integrate these different approaches.
It's not a matter of one being right and one being wrong. It's a matter of allowing space for both. And it's not a kind of romantic idea of going back to some earlier way of relating, just using intuition, for example. We have our logical capacity, a full reasoning capacity, but we don't want to be restricted to that either. We need to go past that, forward back to intuition and those qualities, being part of our life, and things that we aren't afraid to speak of and use in our daily life and publicly, and without being considered woo-woo,
Yeah, and so who we want to attract as viewers are people who feel that there is something missing in their life. There's something which they cannot understand. How is it that this and this seems to be contradictions, and they don't can't figure it out? It's sort of mind-breaking, because you just cannot understand it. And for instance, for me, it happened when I began to read about integral. There's so many lights came up. Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
And now I can understand the world and people in a completely different way. So we want to attract people who want to have an inspiration to go further and to begin to understand what they want to understand. This is as viewers and as contributors.
As contributors, we want to be able to attract people to our show who can explain to others what that future vision is like. I'm reaching out on purpose here to pull that future in, and that ugly claw there, you know. But people who can translate that vision into the present in terms of that we and our audience can understand. I was thinking of an example recently of neuroplasticity. What the hell is that, you know? And there are people who are learning so much about how the brain can really shape itself to new circumstances and new conditions. We used to think that the brain was quite fixed. And actually, I remember hearing that 30 seconds after you're born, your brain begins to die, and pretty soon you run out of brain cells. You know, but people believe this for a couple of generations. And now we have this idea that the brain is really a marvelously intricate instrument that has practically infinite number of connections possible. And if things don't work in one way, you can switch and make them work in another way. And we don't know what the limitations of that are, but there's a lot more possible in our brain and therefore in our mind than we ever imagined.
Yeah, and to say that spiritual people, let's say, they knew that intuitively, and now this is a time where these things come together. And so we would invite people to talk from different perspectives. For instance, a scientist with a spiritual person who are talking in different languages about the same thing, for instance. You know?
Yeah, and they need to talk to each other. They really do. And we can benefit from that kind of conversation.
Yeah. Anyway, who we invite to be guest in our show is a person who has a vision for the future, is ready to go what it needs to be to go for this vision. And the vision is not a personal vision, but it's for the future of the world, you know.
Wow, that's like so huge, guys. You are so on the cutting edge of this, you know, because it's I don't know too much about the integral theory, but I've studied my mind and consciousness even ever since I was 6 years old. And I am so celebrating your initiative to actually create a community for consciousness, for learning about how it actually worked here, right? So where about where do you start to tap into that and create that community?
You know, I think that comes from a certain feeling of lack that we have had, many of us in our lives until recently. That lack of connection, the lack of satisfaction. We do everything we're supposed to do, and it's not enough. It just doesn't fill. There's a hole there in our hearts. It doesn't get filled by what our life in the public, or maybe even within our relationships, provide for us. And that's a great signal that something is missing.
Yeah, and the meaning is missing, and also the appreciation is missing, because when you experience, for instance, that many people around you think you are a little bit what you are telling all the time, it's not interesting and so on. It's not because it's not interesting, probably it's because you have a different mindset, a more evolved mindset. And normally, who has the more evolved mindset feels very lonely. There are so few people who are in the same level of consciousness. And so, for many years, I felt completely alone. And now there's internet. Now we can connect. And the idea is to really connect these people who otherwise feel that they are a little bit off, with their ideas. They know in their heart that it's right, that there is something, and they have understood something, but all people around, or almost all, don't get it, So this is the platform for those people.
So we have a comment here, and Christopher Pearsall says, I like Mark Davenport's expressive movement and gestures. Excellent. Keeps your attention and keeps you excited. Just like Heidi's voice variation. So thank you for that.
I am vindicated. Thank you, Christopher.
Oh, Christopher, he is almost, I always have to catch his hands because he has the microphone and he is almost a centimeter passing the microphone.
Well, he really grabs our attention for sure.
Oh, wonderful.
Good.
So where we start, we begin with the Wisdom Factory next week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. European time. And we will have a lot of categories as we integrate people of so many fields, The first episode will start as in the category gender and leadership. And it's called How Do Women Lead? And I have invited 3 women who really, for me, are great leaders. You know 2 of them very well. One is Mia Voss and one is Lisa Engels. And the other one is a friend of mine, and she is how do you say, an elderly lady? Can you say that in English?
I'd say she is an elder.
An elder, yes. She's over 70, and she has done all this emancipation area, and she has stepped into leadership, and she has the experience how it was to begin to come out as a woman to do that. So I'm very curious and very excited to bring these generations together.
I'm a little curious about what I will do on that show. I serve as sort of a moderator. I'll be the male there, and I may be walking into a minefield with these strong and successful women. But that will be very interesting.
I will be on your side, Mark. I will be on your side, supporting you as a woman leader.
A women leader all around me. Women leaders everywhere.
We hope there are many men in the audience who will support you.
Oh, yes.
Christopher,
you have to be there. Yes.
Well, thanks, Christopher, for supporting Mark and our connections here, and it's very amazing. So I am very curious as to what the end result. What do you see as the end result when you've been on Wisdom Factory for a year? What kind of results do you feel that you can achieve with this new show?
Oh.
I can say something to
okay,
that because my deep, deep desire is to get people really connected. And I know that the integral people, they are all over there on Facebook, and there are so many interesting people here on our side on Google+, and I want to connect them. And I already, I can say that next, in January, there is a very big person from Integral, Jeff Salzman, and he will talk with a very big person from Google+, Martin Shervington, and this will be very interesting about the evolution of business. And when the years passed, I would have liked to have created these connections, that these people then continue to talk to each other, that they continue to how can I say,
collaborate,
yeah. And the inspiration goes from one side to the other,
Yeah.
And what I also like to achieve, that more people are interested to find out about integral theory, not to study it necessarily, but to understand the main principles, because they really help so much to understand the world in a different way, and not to be frightened all the time about things which are happening, because you begin to put them into context and to understand why people act in this way. And this then boils down to help people to grow in their development individually. And when we individually can grow, the war will end, because when we in our inner development are still full of anger and of the wanting to fight,
yes, fear.
The fear and everything, we will, we cannot end war when all people have war inside. So we need to find a way, and that's where the relationship comes into place, to begin, and this is then our work which we want to bring out in some later moment, relationship work, to grow up together in relationships and become the people who we need to create a better world. Not only talk about it and try and try and try, and inside we are not yet ready, but to get ready inside. All of us, or many of us individually, and then the world will change. This is my big, big belief. And this is part of why I'm so excited and doing all this preparation work for this show, talking with people, attracting people, because it is much more possible than we think, let's say in this way.
Okay, we have a comment from Christopher, and he says, he wants to be sure to be invited to the Wisdom Factory, and he also says something supporting that I am on your side, Mark, because he's outnumbered and he's there with you.
Thank you for your support, Christopher. Yes, it's really nice
Wonderful.
To hear it. Yeah. Oh, what happened? Nothing?
Yeah, I stopped talking probably. That's what's happened.
We are talking too much. So what else would you like to know from us? And I mean, when I begin to talk, you see, I'm
much more direct.
We have another person coming on here, Kristen Drisdale. Welcome, Kristen, to Connection. Yeah.
Okay.
The question I have for you both is, how I want to see a little bit more about the results. You compared yourself to Martin Shervington and other people. So what kind of what is the end result? What is the end result that you see? Is it?
Excuse me, Margarita. We didn't compare ourselves to Martin Shervington. I said we have invited him to talk with.
Sorry. Yeah.
The end result is from this creative friction of bringing people together. I'm rubbing my hands. Christopher says that's fine. Okay, and from that creative friction, new possibilities will arise. If people are advanced enough to understand the contributions of everyone, we do have to include everyone, even that 1%, the hated, oligarchs of the world. We have to include them. Otherwise, we end up just fighting. So everybody has, in time, a possibility of coming together and not being alike, but of appreciating and accepting all the differences we have and the contributions those differences make possible. We want to see those.
I just love the way you're rubbing your hands, and then that's going to create a new potentiality. Wow, that's really cool. So if you do that together with other people, we don't really know. We can't foresee what the result's going to be. So yeah, thank you for that answer. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's a positive friction. It's a positive friction, When you know where you want to go, you are in alignment with where you want to go. And so you use friction to grow, you know, and you overcome your own fears and your own holding back moments, and we learn together. And what Mark said, what is so important, we learn also to see that everybody in the world has gifts to share, different gifts to share on different levels, but they have something. And we won't end up to say, oh, this is rubbish what these people say. For instance, often spiritual people say it's rubbish what the scientists say it's rubbish what the spiritual people say. No, it's not. We need to acknowledge the part in which everyone is right and the part in which everyone has something to share. And this is, I think, one of the goals we want to encourage people to look for that special thing they have to share, they can share, you know, in humility, in all humility, because nobody has it all, you know. But where is your special gift and what can you contribute? And we invite people to do that.
So I have a comment here, and it's Rain Dowell sharing, suggesting Sally Sue Amber. I think you'll be interested in this show and future shows. It's a lot of work going on into the subject of women leaders. Thank you, Rain, for that comment. And Kristen says, I lost it. I love this sweet couple, so much to give. And then Tamara says, I Heidi thoughts that it's entirely possible, and marks the importance of inclusion of everyone. I want to share the book with you, The Magical Approach. Seth speaks about the art of creative living, a short book by Jane Roberts, which I think you, as a balanced, rational, intuitive thinker, would really appreciate. I look forward to listening to your program in the future. Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you so much.
Yes, very nice remark. I've heard of Seth. I know something about Seth. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the time where we can where we need to integrate all these approaches, you know, and this is what Integral is all about. The name says it, you know, and we will help people who are sort of stuck in one perspective to see the same thing from the different perspective.
And you know, that happens even among integral people themselves, because if I'm kind of typical in some respects, and I guess we both took this approach, we got into integral with our heads. You know, we were, you know, enthralled with the ideas, you know, because that's the kind of people we were. We get excited about ideas. But, you know, here's this movement called integral, full of heads, you know, and the caricature, heads on sticks, you know, the perhaps they're not people who are fully integrated into their own body. They have to rediscover that because they have had such an interest, such a dependence upon their cognition that they forget about the rest of themselves. And so we want to have physical people here too. And yeah, exactly, as we have learned from Pilates and Tango.
We want to help the embodiment of these ideas, you know, and we want to invite people, you know, who are ready to do that. They don't need to have integral theory studied, but they need to be open-minded and ready to see their own subject from a different perspective and discuss it, you know, discuss it with us, with other people. And so what we found out, for instance, Mark and me, we have such a dialogue often about topics, a creative dialogue, I would call that, where while we are speaking, new thoughts, new ideas, new visions come up. And it's so amazing. And in some way, we want to create that here in the virtual space.
Yeah.
Because, you know, alone you can think a lot of things, but together it is a different potential which is creating evolutionary dialogue. I don't know how they call it, but I feel it very, very rich and enthusiastic way of understanding and of creating what can I say? It's not theory.
No, it's not the experience.
Visions
Vision.
also.
Yeah.
Visions, yeah.
We have a
I'm
comment
thinking of.
here.
Okay.
Christine Justa says, use friction to grow. All right. I love this, Heidi. And Christopher Pearsall said, Heidi and Mark, so do you see your new show being accepting of people who may not have higher level of education so they can grow too? For instance, those who doesn't understand what integral thinking is. Can you answer that for that question?
Yeah,
Sure.
we certainly would like to do that too. We see the levels of growth at different levels, about 6, 7 levels, 8 levels which have appeared so far, and everybody is on her or his level. And the understanding and the language people use is different on every level. So it might happen that how we talk might not be understood by people of certain levels. But if they come in, we try, when we talk maybe in direct dialogue to people of different levels, we try to find the language to make them understand what is relevant for them. When you are in an egocentric level, the world, the climate change and things, it's not interesting for you. You are only interested in yourself. So what you have to learn first, not to think about the world and the problems of the world, but to think about your group, your tribe, your country, and take care, go into responsibility for the bigger group. And if you ask these people to immediately take action for the world, it's just over their head. So with those people, we wouldn't talk about climate change, sustainability, and whatever it is, but with creating a healthy community, with rules, with good rules, and what is the benefit of having rules and taking care for the family, for the country, and all these things.
We have a comment here that maybe it tells a little bit about what you're talking about. It's from Tamara. I think that the challenge is being integral with people who doesn't want to integrate, don't want to look at other ideas. And can you speak about that? I think you have actually answered that question, right?
Well, I just wanted to add a little thing here. Christopher mentioned a level of education as maybe being a barrier. And of course, level of education has nothing to do with intelligence per se. There's people grow and mature and develop in all kinds of different ways. And at some level, they reach a point where they can communicate with other people and have some useful interaction with them. And so I think, Tamara, you're absolutely right that there are people who don't want to integrate. Actually, hardly anyone wants to integrate. Each of us want our understandings, our beliefs to be right, and for other people to be, well, if not outright wrong, well, impractical or kind of crazy or, just not quite all there. They don't really see the world the way I do, So there's all kinds of ways to reject integral. And this is the job of integral, to find ways to find what's right about what all of these people believe and help bring them together and to see that in one another. It's a big job. I can't think of anything else worth doing. No.
So we have a comment here from, where was I now? I love your acknowledging being in love with ideas. The thoughts we have can lead to our hearts this way or that way. The important thing is to condition the mind in such a way that it will want to lead the heart in a responsible way, as Heidi is explaining now. And then we have Sue Petals. She says that I love Heidi and Mark to put emphasis on coming out of their hearts and living integral instead of being constantly list in the dialectic. Thank you. And we have another comment too, and she says, oh, she has posted twice. Yeah, so she sent say thank you for sharing this. Okay, so what else would you like to tell us about the new Wisdom Factory show?
Yeah, I want to come back to that what Mark said. Education is not necessarily a reason for wisdom.
Absolutely.
It is often more knowledge, and knowledge and wisdom is not all the time the same. There are people who have no education and are really wise people. So, you know, we have to find out what wisdom is. And wisdom is not, as we said, only hard. Wisdom often comes, as Christine said, head was before. And now I want to say it comes out of the combination of the fusion of head and heart and all the other capacities we have, like intuitive knowing. You know, all our, when we quote Ken Wilber, superhuman capacities, which we all have. They might sleep, but we can develop them, you know, and
well, we don't have only the head and the heart, we have our guts too. And even lower, and that's another kind of intelligence. And as we grow up in different societies around the world, different parts of these are emphasized and allowed to develop and grow, and others are repressed and crippled and wounded. And so, you know, it's a wonderful, wonderful route through Integral to allow all of these aspects of ourselves to occupy their rightful, respected places. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And what we are doing, we are sort of stewards. Can I just continue, Margarita? We are sort of stewards of this integral, let's say, integral wisdom. We want to give the container for people to open up to their own wisdom, you know, and combine it with other people's wisdom. I think this is the main idea behind what we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me that there have been a trend that the rich get richer and the poor poorer. But there is a new era where consciousness increasing and people are sleeping. So it's like a separation. Is this something that relates to the integral theory?
You know, that's a wonderful thing you bring up, because until quite recently, all of our evolution was unconscious, because we had no idea. I mean, the idea of evolution itself is maybe only 150 years old in the whole world. Before that, there was no understanding of level of growth, of development. People even rejected the fact that children could develop at one point. You know, the children were just faulty adults. You know, so this idea of evolution and being conscious of it and being able to look at it and maybe even direct it. You know, that's really exciting. Think of the damage we could do if we could direct evolution.
If we are not conscious enough.
That's right. Oh, we could indeed. A little knowledge could be a dangerous thing there. So actually, Integral could not help but decrease the distance between the haves and the have-nots, even in the economic sense. Because Integral would find ways to stop that war between the 99% and the 1%. You know, stop that war, include the 1%, include the 99%. There's something good in the big pie for everybody, you know. And it does take a level of consciousness to understand that, and that's what we Integral people strive to be competent. That strives to be our competency. Yes.
Thank you so much. We're Mark. I just love what you're saying there. So we're coming to the end of our show. So my takeaway here is that this is an amazing opportunity for everyone to join you on the Wisdom Factory. And I'll let you have the last word here. What would you like to say before we close?
Well, I would like Heidi to have the last word, and then she could tell everybody how to find us, okay? But my last word is that I have gotten really pumped up today by our discussion between the three of us here, and with the input from the people who are watching today. This has been a real charge. It feels like we're not shouting into the ethers and not knowing where things will land. And this is, of course, the way that integral will spread. You know, the Renaissance was a product of maybe 2,000 people. Everybody else didn't even notice, you know, and it happened anyway.
Before you finish, Heidi, I want to have a comment from Pamir Kichiman. In many Asian languages, the word for mind and heart are the same word. So it's more of a heart mind. And there are more conscious men than we realize. Wink, wink, he says.
Wink, yeah.
This is such relief.
Yeah.
Because we women, I mean, we will talk a little bit about feminism. Normally, evolution goes from one pole to the other, and then boom, 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 and at the end we come together. So what women did was denigrating men altogether, and I did it in my life too. So good to know that there are others here, and I'm ready to accept and embrace masculine energy and men in my life as real peers, and not as somebody who is or dangerous or something.
It can be dangerous. But, yeah.
Okay, Heidi and Mark, can you tell us how people can connect with this new show?
Yes, we have here in our lower third the wisdomfactory.not.com but de. And there is the landing page where you can see all the categories we will have shows on, and leave your email address so you get a regular newsletter. You can also apply for being a guest in a show, and then we will have a private conversation, and we will find out what you want to talk about and make an appointment and so on. This would be there on this landing page, and then we are on Google+, my personal profile, Adelheid Hornlein, and then also the Wisdom Factory is there, and you please circle us and share these things with other people. You know, the first one is about gender, the second one is about personal development. We will be talking about living in the flow. And then the third one is about integral healing, a person who had cancer and approached the healing in a different way.
Oh, wow.
And then we will have a man who says men are good. So it's again a gender topic. Then we will have sustainability, new communities. Then we will have Christmas. How Christmas developed through the states of development. What is the meaning of these sacred fests? And then on New Year's Eve, you are all invited to our New Year's Eve party.
You have to bring your own wine.
I already said yes. Okay, guys. So I think we're well over our time, and I must thank everybody who listened. And if you want to see the replay, we have the hangoutonconnections.com where all our replays are posted. And I want to thank all of you who has commented so frequently. Thank you so much. And is there anything else to say, Heidi?
No, only come and join us. Our hearts are burning, really, to give out what we know and to collect your wisdom.
And the results will be beyond your wildest dreams, because you just can't conceive of what it could be till it happens.
Okay,
wonderful.
Thank you, everybody.
So, and next week, Margarita, what are we offering next week in Connections?
Adele Michal is going to come and present the topic of if you're a woman with an idea, can we do a business out of that? She's going to talk about that.
So wonderful. We see you all next Thursday at the same time. Bye-bye.
And connections.